And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the house of Scotty P. To your host, of course, Scotty P. Carnivore Scott, aka whatever you want to call me, but don't call me late for dinner. It is Friday, and again, it is the 7th of June, just after we've celebrated D Day, which is not Diet Day. No, it is not. And I'm here just to say hello and to follow up with some data and things that were given to me here recently. If you've been following me for a minute, you know one of the big issues, a big rock in my life has been um, dealing with fatty liver and how recently, hey, there you are, Sandra. How are you? How you doing today? I hope things will get a little better for you. I really do. So, in dealing with things, you know that I've been dealing not just with a fatty liver, but with a diagnosis of having a cirrhotic liver and liver nodules. So, they're saying on the surface of my liver are some moguls, I guess, kind of like my knuckles. It's not nice and straight, it's got these little bumps. So, fatty liver, cirrhotic liver, liver nodules, and some fibrosis. And they were seeing spaces in my liver where there wasn't any fat, like little spots, areas. Normally, in the absence of any other given information, those spaces, those areas in my liver would be indicative of liver cancer. Hmm. I don't have liver cancer. No, I do not have cancer. What I have is I have a liver that's getting healthier. Now, I really can't say that because I'm a doctor. I can't say that because I have some divine intervention. No. When you read through the literature, and you know how it is, and Sandra, I know you know how it is when you have some potential diagnosis that that something's wrong, you go to the Googler and you go to the Googler and you read PubMed and you read studies and Google Scholar and you try to get to understand this situation better. And that's what I've done. I've tried to understand it better. And what I've learned from my readings, again, I'm not a doctor, but from my readings is radiologists have to be careful they don't give a diagnosis of cancer because of those blank spots. Those may not be tumors. See, a tumor would show that there's no fat. You have this sea of fat, and then you'd have this area of no fat. And the truth is, I think the liver is getting healthier. So they have grades of fatty liver. They have a fatty liver grade of 0, 1, 2, and 3. And I think a grade 3 is your worst and grade 0 is your best. And to have no fatty liver, that would be a 0, I guess, is that you have 5% of your liver or less is filled fat because your liver want to have fat in it. You can't get away from that. That's going to happen. All right. So my liver has fat, but over 5% of the liver volume being fat, then you have that steatosis. Yeah, I believe I said that correctly. Not positive. Anyway, when they see those blank spots, they think then it's a tumor. So I asked my doctor, hey, doc, we looked at the report and the report said that I had, and it was in another one, but it said all this stuff. What do we do now? I mean, if it says I have cirrhosis and liver surface nodules and fibrosis, what do we do next? So the doc said, we're going to get some blood tests. So they ran blood tests on me to find out, do I have hepatitis? I guess you have hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I mean, they have a lot of hepatitises. So they took out blood for my hepatitis. They checked me for HIV. They checked me for this and they checked me for that. And um, the bottom line is I do not have any hepatitis, HIV. Everything was negative. So amen and praise of God. All right. They also did a test for a certain protein, and that protein was a protein they give for pregnant women and or people who may have cancer in the liver. And so it's I guess a very specific to to liver cancer. And I'm going to look it up real quick to see if I can speak intelligently to it. I don't know that I can. Let's go. I've got lots of screenshots, and I do lots of screenshots because it's easier, and that doesn't make it bad to her, if you know what I mean. So let's go for screenshot. Go to the bottom. I don't know which one this is. Screenshot. That's not it. It's a test. Where's this test? Oh, view. Let's see. Arrange. I need to arrange. Oh, sort. There it is. Sort by date. Okay. We'll go with this first one. That's not much of a picture. Yeah. So, oh, wait a minute. Sorry about that, Sandra. So Sandra is saying many online sources say the carnivore cause fatty liver. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Do you say they checked? Yeah, they check for HIV because if you have HIV, then your liver would have a problem. It would show up in your liver, right? So we did my other test work. Pardon me for looking over, but I'm looking at this other screen. And so my glucose earlier this week was only 83. My morning glucose, 83. I hadn't eaten yet, but so-called fasted, daily fasted. And my AST was 29. That's pretty good. My ALT was 36. Had been 41, but it's 36. A little high yet for the ALT, okay? I know that's a little high. Bilirubin seemed to be good. Everything else, bun creatine and my EGFR, better, almost 90%. So, that's not bad for that. So that was not a bad one. That was not bad. So now let's go and say, look, my next one, my comprehensive metabolic panel. That was the same thing. What is this one? This one says, all right. So the doc says in her email response to me, please share the following results with the patient from recent imaging. Recommended patient see hepatology for further assessment. So a hepatologist, not a herpetologist. Herpetologist, you're going to check on the on snakes and stuff like that, right? No, a hepatologist, liver, hepatology, the study of the liver. A hepatologist, because my FIB-4 score is 1.57, which is on the low end. Well, here's the deal. Anything above like 1.4 or 1.5 means you have fibrosis. So they're saying I have a 1.57. Now, if it were 2.37 or higher, that would mean I'd have severe fibrosis. But I really don't care about fibrosis, but I have something that it looks like. They gave me a referral because the impression is hepatic steatosis and cirrhosis without mass, and borderline splenomegaly. So my spleno might be big O, right? But I'm a big person. I don't think so. It could be. I'm not a doctor. What is this? Well, come on, man. Oh, we don't know because I didn't copy it here. What a maroon. Sometimes I forget how to think, right? So we'll go to here, and I'm doing all this through the VA. So I have to look on the VA, this one right here. Okay, yeah. So I looked at all the chemistry. So I guess you have inflammation. Oh yeah, I do. I have inflammation in my liver. That's right. And isn't that what we've learned in this journey so far? Inflammation or problems, injury can happen to different things. If it happens in the ovaries, we call it PCOS. If it happens in the kidney disease, right? CKD. If it's in the liver, liver disease, and so weiter. And so the idea being is that yeah, I have inflammation in my liver because when I was younger, I abused alcohol. Also, I had forgotten to consider this, but they will say that prolonged use of NSAIDs can be a problem. Well, in the Air Force, every time you got hurt or anything, they just gave you Motrin, 600, 800 milligram Motrin. Take two of these 4 times a day, 3 times a day, whatever it was, right? I lived on that stuff. I was always hurting myself somehow or another, and I've got the multiple records to prove it. So maybe 15 years of taking NSAIDs damaged my liver, right? Exactly. Who knows? Uh, oh yeah, you can have, well, so again, a fatty liver. So fat in the liver is a normal condition. It's when there's too much fat in and around the liver, and we understand. We're on the same sheet of music. However, too much fat, and Dr. Ben Bickman talks about it, too much fat, even in the liver or around the liver, releases a lot of cytokines, and there can be some, what he called it yesterday. He had one yesterday where he put out a video from Insulin IQ, and that video spoke to energy toxicity, right? So, in other words, when your fat is tired of being fat, you can have a problem. So, so yeah, too much Tylenol. Took it all. I've had it all. So now I'm looking at my blood tests. And my blood tests, they did what they call a prothrombin time. So this prothrombin thing, they're looking for it to precipitate. And basically, that's checking on your clotting, and they have a range. You don't want to be earlier than this number. You don't want to be later than this number. All right. And if you're late, that means your blood is too thin. And if you're early, that means it's too thick. You clot too thick, and you don't want to have blood that clots too thick or too soon or not at all. And the reference range for this INR was 0.83 to 1.26. Not a lot of difference, right? Not a big spectrum. 0.83 to 1.26. Wow, that's like a fourth of a second makes a difference of your health, right? So mine was 0.87, close on the clotting. And then it said it has another PT, not in the INR, of 10.1, and the range is 9 to 14. So it's performing the same. My blood clots pretty easy, and I would agree with that. I have good clotty blood. I don't normally ever have a problem with blood draws or cuts. And they were talking about stuff and asking last night in one of the videos, the group video that had Who's Your Carnivore and Alicia Wells, and I didn't know the other gentleman, but they're talking about what are weird things that have happened to you lately on carnivore. And this arm, you can't tell. Like I'm trying to show it. You cannot tell that right here on my arm. I can't barely tell. Right here on my arm, 3 weeks ago, I had a full second-degree burn, all blistered, all red, all gnarly. It blistered, it scabbed, it did the normal thing. I put vitamin E oil on it every day, a couple times a day. You can't even tell it happened. I put my arm on a muffler. Aaliyah, thank you, Aaliyah, thank you. You know me and my names, Aaliyah. And I apologize. But I had put my arm on a muffler on my lawnmower. not on purpose, obviously, not very for not very long, but I had a full second-degree burn. It is totally healed, and after the initial "ow," like, "Ow," it never hurt again. I'm like, "Wow." So, again, my plasma for this thrombin time, I was in great shape, so no clotting problems. Then they did a hepatitis B core. It's a hepatitis B core AB. So looking for A with a little maybe A flat. I don't know. It looked like an A flat. Um, and it was non-reactive. Hepatitis B, non-reactive. Hepatitis A virus, IgMAB, non-reactive. Hepatitis B surface AB, non-reactive. Total bilirubin. My old Billy. My bilirubin is 0.75 micrograms or milligrams per deciliter. Reference range is zero point 0.3 to 1.2. Mine's at 0.75, so my bilirubin is neither high nor low. Yes, nice bilirubin. My hepatitis C test for AB, hepatitis C AB, B AB, A AB IgM, B core AB, right? So a lot of these different things I checked for were all non-reactive. And HIV, non-reactive. Then they did another one, and this one was called the fetoprotein alpha. Fetoprotein, dude, that's like FETO, FETO, fetoprotein alpha. It measured out at 3.86 nanograms per milliliter. Yeah, you're going to remember that, 3.6 nanograms. And all I needed to do was be greater than 6.1. And so I was like, what? Well, so then it's low? No. What they're saying is this alpha fetoprotein, if it's over or greater than 6.1 nanogram per milliliter, you might have liver cancer. It might. It's not definitive, but it's another indicator for liver cancer. So mine is well below the 6.1. And that 6.1, you go over that, and now you're in consideration. But then normally it goes like up into hundreds when people have liver cancer. So that cutoff of being 6.1, hallelujah, not an issue for me. But even if it was 6.2, I don't know. I don't know. I think this is good. I think this is really good. I think what's happening, and I'm not a doctor, let's not get carried away. I think this PhD, the proper human diet that I'm working on, I think what's happening is my liver is getting rid of some of the fat that's inside and all the rest of my body. I mean, you can't tell it here, right? But I have a lot more um, muscle showing through the subcutaneous fat. And I'd expect that on the extremity, but it's starting to show in other places along my collarbone, even my little waddle here, which is, I don't like it, but it is what it is. My cheekbones. I'm thinking that my body is morphing, and they took a picture when it was like, or pardon me, I'm having fun with this. If you don't have fun with it, you'll cry, right? Um, but I think my body is morphing and my liver is morphing, and they'll tell you, oh, you can't have spot reductions. Spot reductions aren't a real thing. Okay, maybe, but if spot reductions aren't a real thing, then the body in its journey on that spectrum of we call life has these ebbs and flows, just like I guess they say hormones are pulsatile. Your body isn't just giving out a steady state of insulin or testosterone or estrogen. It's like little pops and spurts, and there's a lot of channel talk. Like if you're on a computer, right? We're sitting here and I'm talking to you. Well, actually, I'm talking to you mentally, but actually, I'm I'm vocalizing to a microphone that's going into a computer. It's getting broken down, and packets are going back and forth, and not all the packets follow in the same signal to your computer. They divert and come back, and they all get reassembled. Just like information on your hard drive isn't all assembled one one bit by bit by bit by bit to a byte to a byte to a byte to you know what I mean? It's all over, and your computer's reading it real fast, and so I think in my body or in all of our bodies, the different signals are going on all the time between the billions of cells and the trillions of the atomic particles and everything else and all the gut biome. And you got biome on your face, got a biome in your mouth. You got like 7 biomes. All those things got a biome in your brain, right? All those things are communicating. Data is flowing everywhere and I'm learning so much from Dr. Ben Bickman. I'm about ready to officially declare a man crush, right? So Dr. Bickman, when he talks about the lipid energy models, he talks about all the things he talks about. He really breaks it down. You know, all these things are going on in our body all the time. It's like absolutely um if you had to listen to it, probably chaotic. Matter of fact, when they put the ultrasound, they were listening to my liver and they were listening to my gallbladder and my um, uh, spleen. It was noisy in there. There's all sorts of noise going on and things happening and squishes and, you know, that's in the macro. I mean, anything I can hear or feel or touch is macro in the body. You get down to the micro when they're talking about, your mitochondria and how brown fat is fat that has more white fat that has a lot more mitochondria, so much so that you can see it. I mean, the things that are going on constantly. If I went out to the internet and I look, sometimes you can find videos. I've actually got videos of one cell, like a lysome, encapsulating and breaking down another bad product in your body. Cellular video. Is that not amazing? So, all this stuff going on all the time, I think we should be considering things in terms of spectrums and not absolutes. I just listened to Laura Spath talk about, every day she recommends we eat 16 ounces of meat, a pound of meat, 4 eggs, and 2 cups of dairy. If you can't do the dairy or you don't want to do the dairy, do more eggs and a little bit more meat. Got it. And then she said, after talking to Dr. Baker and Dr. Naiman and all these different people, Michaela Peterson lives a very strict life because if she goes off program, her body doesn't respond well. Yeah, a little bit of pepper and mental issues and the body reaction and the inflammation. And we were talking about inflammation. Michaela Peterson's body is broken for whatever reason. It doesn't matter to say why. But what all these other doctors said is we should be able to tolerate some broccoli, some blueberry, some blackberries, and we should be able to tolerate some potato, more milk, right? All right, right. If we can't, that means our system is compromised. Now, will it always be compromised? I don't know. But this is what we can be sure of. There's very little information available to doctors today about in today's dietary stance or what will happen to a person who was on the standard American diet, now goes to the proper human diet, right? AKA carnivore, ketovore, something like that, right? I.e., what Laura Spath said, get rid of all the processed foods. Fruity pebbles don't grow on any plant. They're grown in a chemistry lab, right? So you get rid of all the processed foods you can. You get rid of all the stuff in the middle of the store and you try to eat on the outside. So you're eating the meats, the vegetables, the nuts, things. And as appropriate for you, right? You're going to see improvement. I think it's an agreeable position to have. I do. Your skin always heals fast, always did, even before. That's a blessing. Take that one when you get it. Yeah, milk. Yeah, I'm looking and I'm finding some raw milk suppliers, but in the state of Alabama, it can only be sold to you under the understanding that you're giving it to your pets. Pets can have raw milk. Okay. So all of this thing, and I brought up Laura Spath because I just listened to it and listened to her, and it really did make sense. Looking at things on a spectrum, there can be 2 weeks where you can eat something and there's no problem. Where you have 6 months, and then one day you eat it and it doesn't work so well. And maybe that was what you ate yesterday was a straw that broke the camel's back, and now bacon just isn't working for you. A lot of people who've been in the carnivore space for a year or two or more, they don't really eat a lot of bacon, and they're not doing like steak and butter gal. They're eating butter off a stick anymore. Again, each one of us, and of one, taking responsibility for our lives and our diet, looking and paying attention to see how things that we eat, how we eat, how we sleep, and how we move. Right? Looking at those things and saying one of the things on it, let's call that our stool, right? Our three-legged stool. Something I ate, a way I slept or didn't sleep, or moved or didn't move, is having a negative impact. Let me see what I can figure out. Aaliyah was saying last night she's doing a food journal and she dropped stevia and she's lost 4 pounds all of a sudden. Now I dropped all artificial sugars, right? Not too long ago. I'll look on my calendar because I keep everything in my calendar because I know that my mind is not the most um, capable at keeping all that straight. Yeah, okay. So on April 15th, I stopped all my artificial sugar. So my artificial sugar preference was saccharin. So the 15th of April through the 15th of May, now almost, we're going to be close to the 15th of June, right? So 15 April to 15 May. So we're going close to 2 months. We're going to say 7 weeks now, and I'm not missing it. And that's a beautiful thing. I'm actually can enjoy my coffee without it. Now, I did add in some RX sugar, the allulose. It's highly processed, but it's a natural sugar. Yep, tax day. That's right. So I am not using it on any sort of a regular basis. I know Dr. Bickman is on RX Sugar's board of directors as a scientific advisor, as is Dr. Johnson? I'm not positive. However, I use it limited. I use it like, let's say I have some carbs, like I'll have some blueberries. Then in my next drink, I'll add a half a teaspoon of allulose, and I'll get that sugar because it lowers glucose. So I'm kind of doing it to combat the glucose that might be in the strawberries. And I don't normally eat more than 50 to 60 grams of not strawberries, blueberries. But I've dropped that artificial sugar, and I'm keeping track of everything. And now I've had to do something else. So as of, I want to say Wednesday, which would have been the 5th of June, I have decided I think I have replaced one vice with another, and that is heavy cream. I was going through half a cup a day of heavy cream. Yeah. And I wasn't happy because I was doing all the heavy cream and I was doing butter about a stick a day, not quite a stick a day. Some days maybe a stick, other days 3/4 of a stick. So 6 to 7 tablespoons versus 8 to 9 tablespoons, right? And I was eating the fat that came in the meat. And I've decided that after all this time, I have been doing carnivore since the let's just say the middle of February to make it easier. So March, April, May, again, almost 4 months of doing carnivore. And I'm thinking that if I'm not fat adapted now, I don't know when I will be. Right. And I think I am fat adapted. And I made a video about this, but I think I'm fat adapted because I get into ketosis. I measure with my Keto Mojo and I use the little urine strips sometimes. I can tell when my body's in ketosis now and my energy. So I can go out and do lots of things like it takes 2 miles of take two for me to mow my front yard and the two side yards with the power assisted walk behind mower. I walk 2 miles, and my wife does it with me, so we trade on and off. So it takes about 4 miles of walking, 8,000 steps for the two of us to mow the front yard and the two side yards. Not even messing with the backyard. Backyard inside the fence, not so much. Outside the fence, yeah, because we live on about 1.4 acres. Of course, the house, I don't have to mow where the house in the driveway is, but you get the idea. It's a pretty good walk to moving the mower around. I'm never sore anymore. No, now I get tired. And if I get tired, I get run down. I notice that I get colds. So I think I'm fat adapted. Now you're talking here, sounded about Dr. Boz. Yep, I did. Yep, I watched her do that. I watched that video when she put it up. I think it might even been live. I watched that one. And then yeah, she's keto. Yeah, again, spectrum and what works for one person, may not work for another person. Base again, it's this whole discussion to me revolves around um, you being aware of who and what is going on with you. Now, many people um, are on a journey of discovery, and they may start, and we all start in different places. I was just at the health food store. I want to get a little dropper bottle. I bought a big thing of the keto um, mineral drops, and I just pour big, um, what is it? It's not a jar, bottle. Thank you. Plastic. It's a big bottle, so I want to put it in a smaller bottle, like an eye drop. And what I do, I add a little bit of my electrolyte, not in every cup, but throughout the day in these big cups of water. So as I sip it, I'm making sure I keep up on all my electrolytes, and it has copper and the zinc and the chromium and all those other things. So anyhow, everything being on a spectrum and trying to know where I'm at. So I kind of know where I'm at. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to um I'm trying to make sure that I take into account what is happening to me in this time frame right now, not from last week. Not, and what are the things that I'm willing to change? What am I willing to explore? And so the thing I'm exploring now is maybe my weight loss. So now I'm redistributing, and my fat is being burnt off the subcutaneous areas, and I believe fat is being consumed because I say that's what's supposed to happen in the visceral area, but it's not happening fast, and I don't exercise. And I know that's a problem, but I have a job. Finding that motivation, but I think mowing my yard and all the other things I do count. It may not be as good as doing sprints or heavy lifts, and I did build a board so I bought some bands so I could do some basic resistance exercises. But I'm realizing that I'm not getting where I want to be, and I'm not getting it quickly because my expenditure of calories is being met by my ingestion of calories. So I'm status quo. So what I'm trying to do now is get that pound and a half of meat. I have to get a minimum of a pound and a half. My lean, my lean tissue mass, bones, skin, all that good stuff is roughly about 200 pounds. stripped away of all my fat, I'd weigh about 200 pounds, give or take, plus or minus. So all the different calculators, all the different people basically saying, hey, you need roughly 200 grams of protein. Plus, I'm over the age of 60. So that means I have to have about a 25% a plus up under the old system, not under the proper human diet. So that means I'd have to be getting, 25% of 200, right? It's going to be 50%. So 250 grams of protein a day, I can't do it. Not right now. But what I can do is I can do a pound and a half. I can get 150. So I have a half a dozen eggs every morning, 6 eggs scrambled up with some butter in them. That's going to give me about 30 grams of protein and about 30 grams of fat. Then, like right now, I have a 3/4 pound of ground beef with a tablespoon of butter. And then tonight, I'll eat something like I got some New York strips out. So I'll have, another 3/4 of a pound of New York strip. So that's going to give me my pound and a half of meat and my eggs. But what I'm not going to do is chow the butter and chow down on added fats. And I'm thinking that my body's going to say, I need the energy, and I have the energy available, and it's in all this extra fat I have on my body. We'll do that for a couple of weeks, then we'll go back and we'll back and forth and just kind of ride it like going down a switchback mountain, back and forth. My goal isn't necessarily weight loss, but for sure my goal is fat loss, and I can measure that on how my pants are fitting, how shirts are fitting. And what I've learned from Dr. Bickman, as I was getting ready to say earlier, is, you know, fat, you have intramuscular fat deposits. There's fat in all your cells, just itty bitty little fat cells, right? Fat stores. So your muscles can use fat that's right there. It doesn't have to mobilize. It doesn't have to always send a signal. My calf muscle does not have to send a muscle all the way up to my liver to tell my liver, hey, I need more fat, send me more fat. The calf muscle has some, and it can do stuff, and it can grab things out of the bloodstream as they go by, so that when those chylomicrons are going by, it can be grabbed out of those, and it can get those triglycerides. Anyway, really fascinating stuff. But all this to say that our body's really complex. It took me better part of 30 years to get to where I'm at. There's probably some injuries that's happened to organs that may not be overcomable, i.e. to get back to a perfect health, but I don't have to exacerbate it. And that would be my liver. We're going to find out, is my liver cirrhotic or not? Because remember, my big question was, is my liver, do I have portal vein hypertension? And it turns out all these radiologists, they measure my portal vein and they say portal vein hypertension, portal vein hypertension, portal vein hypertension. Hi, Laura, how you doing? But it turns out portal vein hypertension wasn't reported on the last two studies. I had two recent ones back to back. So maybe the portal vein isn't the issue. Now they're saying cirrhosis and liver nodules. I think what's happened is, how cellulitis causes an irregular surface. I'm thinking as my liver is losing fat, it's just deflating, but not. Would you say that like a homogeneous type of thing, Laura? That the liver deflates equally throughout? I don't know what the word is, but none of my blood markers indicate the inflammation that would be associated with a cirrhotic liver. Fatty liver, absolutely. Cirrhotic, don't think so. And even if it was, it's so low grade that there is, even in the literature, the option or opportunity to reverse it. That's what I'm doing. We're going for the reversal, kind of like in wrestling. Laura said, get up early and do some exercise. Yeah, getting up is a challenge for me. The sleep apnea, it's an excuse, I know. but the sleep apnea and the racking pains from, um, well, they're very little part of my body. There are very few major systems of my body that aren't impacted, but that's okay. That's okay. Yep, I know the fatty liver disease goes away. I've been I've been at it hard since the middle of February, and that's why I tried to ask my doctor, "Hey, doc, do I have a grade 1 or grade 3 fatty liver? Was it grade 2 before? It's grade 1. Was it 3? Now it's grade 2. Was it grade 1? Now it's grade 2. What is we have to go." And so, Laura, what has happened is, and I brought it up earlier, is my doctor has referred me to a hepatologist. Again, not a herpetologist, but a hepatologist at the VA. And I'm going to have a video telecon with this hepatologist. And I want to say it's next week on the 13th. So on the 13th, the VA doc and I are going to get together, and they're going to go over my labs, they're going to go over my images, and they're going to say, well, Scotty, looks like you got a fatty liver, and you may have a slightly enlarged spleen, and we're wondering about this, that, and other. And then they're going to maybe probably offer me to get a big needle for a biopsy, which I'm going to say no. What I want them to do, I think, is I want a MRI with a certain parameter where they can just map the whole liver in a much better way than the ultrasound. And then I want them to do the fibro scan. Laura, I don't know if you're familiar with it, or if you're familiar with it, Sandra, but the fibro scan is, they hold a probe up to your rib cage, in between your ribs. You probably know this, but they hold it up there and it sends out a little ping, kind of like a sonar. And it says, one ping there, Vasily, and the pings the liver, and it's looking for a specific response. And I've had those in the past, and they never said I was cirrhotic. So in other words, the ultrasound wave went in and came back out. They measured it time and path, and I didn't have a cirrhotic liver or a fibrotic liver, just a fatty liver. And if I can just stay in the fatty liver zone, then I know it may not be this month, it may not be next month, but 1 month and one test to come back and say, well, Mr. Price, we really can't see anything in there. So Scotty B, you're good to go. Let's get this on. Yes, I think they said low grade cirrhosis has been known to, but not the worst one. So we're going to see, but already, I'm very happy to be able to report that they're not carrying on with portal vein hypertension. So I don't have any of the varices. I don't have any of the other indications of having cirrhosis, and that's good. And I'll stay on top of it. And keep doing things. And I think that will bode well for a lot of things, right? A lot of things. In other news, first of all, I'm going to make sure here. How y'all doing? What's going on with you, Laura? I know I've seen you out there in a couple different videos, and Sandra, I understand you. Someone's been given someone's been we'll just say not remembering the grace and the mercy that they were showed each day. So yeah, there's some people out there. I can be one of those people sometimes. I know I've been insensitive, or I have been preoccupied with my own self. So it's hard when people injure us to be forgiving them. I think it was we did a Bible study, the bait of Satan, and it was a really good thing about that one. But yeah, people will inevitably, and whether intentionally or otherwise, they will do things that will hurt us. That's for sure. John Bevere was the one who did the Bible study on that one. Laura, yeah, making your products. Okay, got your vitamin D. There you go. Hey, you know what? I did do something, Laura. You mentioned it, and I filed it away in my head, but I slept and the squirrels were running around. But I ran across some more studies yesterday that talk about the toenail fungus being uh, healed, put into remission, whatever words we want to use, through the use of iodine, the clear iodine. So I went to my local health food store, and all they had was very expensive Lugol's iodine, which is of course red. So I think I'm just gonna go online to Walgreens or something, and that for $2.37, I can buy more than I need. And what they basically said, you put 1 drop each day. Well, the apple cider vinegar did not work for me. My toast smelled like a beautiful, vinaigrette, but it didn't do anything. I think I've had this infestation, fungal infection for at least 25, if not 30 years. What happened was playing basketball, someone landed on my big toe and it split the nail. And that's how the bacteria made their entry in really quick and easy there. And so I have tried. I've been to a foot doctor, a podiatrist who had me putting something on. I've had I've had all sorts of things other than the antibiotics, which I refuse to take antibiotics for the course you would need to do to help that. I also know in my life, I had two little spots, one and then another show up on my right ankle, on the inside of my right ankle, and they the one at a time, and this spot, like a perfect little round spot. What it was is I got maybe a mosquito bite, or I got a wound from um, uh, weed eating the yard, and a little nick comes up and gets me in the leg. Anyway, those little nicks on my legs, those two, one first, then a few years later another one, never really healed. Mm. Hmm. Padawan, what's going on here? Well, I really believe that's when I was a full-on sugar addict. I believe that my pre-diabetes, that my insulin was presenting in my peripheral distal appendages, like my feet, in the way of I had really dark skin. They talk about getting the dark ring around your neck, maybe particularly for African Americans, they'll get a darkened ring and with the little moles when they're insulin resistant, pre-diabetic. Well, I was having something along that line on my feet, really dark skin, and then and I had the the fungus in my toenail, and then I had these wounds that would not heal. I mean, they were there for months. Yeah, I'm thinking pre-diabetic. You're right, particularly with the elevated insulin. And so, um, Dr. Berry had talked about if you wanted to take and get that infection, what you need to do, don't trim it back like crazy, stop eating sugar, and as the nail bed as it grows out, your body will be able to fight that infection now because you've got all the proper things. And you know what? I do see nice area in the nail bed near the, I guess I would say proximal, because it's not distal but proximal to the nail bed, and I see new toenail growth, but it's very, very slow. So I'm gonna go get this iodine mixture, and I'll put a drop on each one of my big toes, right on the front part where where the growth is, the fungus. I guess it's a fungus. And they say within a couple of weeks, 6 weeks max, one drop a day, that'd be all gone. Of course, the toenail needs to grow out, and you can cut all that away. And now you have little pink toes because it's embarrassing. I don't like it. It's ugly. Um, and I'm not going to go in and have somebody use a spoon lift it off to treat it either. Not going to happen. All right. So, pill, yeah, it's horrible for the liver, especially my liver. It heals itself. Yeah. So again, as I've been, I don't think modern medicine really knows what the outcomes are from going from the standard American diet and unhealthy and sugar addicted to one in the proper human diet and not sugar addicted and all that glycation and all the downstream things. I don't think they know the limit. And I believe, of course, that the body was wonderfully and beautifully designed on purpose, and we can get healthier. I think so. Yeah. Well, again, they just didn't mention portal vein hypertension, but I still have a slightly large portal vein. Here's what I think is happening: as the fat is draining from my liver, the pressure is reducing. That means my spleen's gonna get back into regular shape and my liver get back into regular shape. There's never been a problem with my gallbladder, but we do show some focal points around it. But I suspect 6 months more of staying on plan, and I'm gonna have a healthy liver, and all the rest of it's gonna go away. Now, do you suppose? Absolutely, there, Sandra. Do you suppose also that we'll be able to say that the proper human diet, the carnivore diet, reversed portal vein hypertension? May I possibly and potentially be one of the first documented cases of that? I don't know. I'll be happy to be that. I'll be okay if I'm number 2 or number 5,000. The point is that I am. Yeah, I am tall. I'm pretty tall. I mean, I'm not the tallest, but at 6'5", who knew they could stack it that tall? Yep. And let me ask you a question. What do y'all think? Huh? I had to go get some dental work done, and that's been on the books for a while. And I've been doing a lot of dental work. I had 6 crowns, 6 of them, done on Wednesday morning in one shot. Well, not one shot. They use multiple shots. I think my teeth are still a little numb yet. Yeah, something different. Yeah, I don't have the dark mark right here in my tooth. Yeah. So still got some more work to do. Turns out there are consequences for a high sugar diet. Well, I remember when I was in the military, I was stationed over in Germany, and I had such bad allergies. Oh my gosh, the seasonal allergies were killing me. I was also drinking beer like it was my job and alcohol like it was my job and eating German cakes. Now, they don't have as much sugar, but when you eat the whole cake and when you eat 4 or 5 or 6 Almond Joy bars, Mounds bars, Reese's cups, I'm probably eating 4 to 6 of those a day. Now, I was exercising like a fiend, right? I was doing all sorts of things. So my body, been being young, I was not a fat guy. I was a pretty in shape guy. But your internal organs don't care what your external body looks like, right? Anyhow, so I had really bad. I was washing. This is terrible. I was washing down my antihistamines with my beer, full wheat beer, right? Then anyway, that goes away. I meet my wife. I'm born again. Everything's good. I'm not drinking to it. I go back to Germany, and I am just crushed again. Common thing, still eating lots of breads and potatoes and sugars. Leave Germany, and but when I first got to Germany, I had to have I had to have my annual dental, and I had like one cavity here, one cavity there, little tiny things, no big deal, right? Teeth were clean, no gum disease, right? 6 months later, in my reassignment to Germany, I have 13 cavities, all of them right up in here, where I'm missing some teeth. And you know what it is? I put one of those throat lozenges, like a Hall's lozenge, between my cheek and gum all day, every day. I did 24/7. I slept with one here. Here's your sign. I went from almost nothing to 13 in 6 months. And you know what? That, no bueno. And I did not know that when your teeth, you got your teeth, we can do like this, your teeth, we'll do your teeth. Okay, let's say you have more teeth, more than 3 teeth, but we'll do that. If you get a cavity here, guess what? You get a cavity here. And if you get a cavity here, you'll get a cavity there. And if you get a cavity there, you'll get another one here. The cavity, the caries, the bacteria will move on to the next place. So the dentist will come in and they'll drill a little hole and they'll excavate and then they'll put some toxic stuff in there for you and then they'll cover it all up and you'll have a tooth with a new surface, like the big black one I had right here, and you'll have a whole new surface. And then what happens is, inevitably, unavoidably, the bacteria will get back up underneath that filling. And so I have spent the last 6 years getting old fillings and old dental work reworked because of cavity, because I was eating stupid sugars. And I brush and I floss. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So, got it taken care of. We're getting it done. This carnivore way of life, making sure I get the flossing going on and the dental pick going on. And the doc said yesterday when he Wednesday morning when he's cutting on all my teeth, he was like, "Well, guess what, buddy? You're good. You've done a remarkably good job. Your gums are in great shape. We'd expect a lot more evidence if you weren't, but that's what it is." So, what can I say? I have a healing process and a medical plan for my dental situation and work. I got the teeth taken care of. These attempts are not permanent, and then we'll get those taken care of. I got a few more to do down here, and I'll be like the bionic man. I'll have a new teeth, well, not implants or anything like that, but they'll be taken care of. This is all very good, all part of carnivore. So it is about 1 o'clock. I bet you we got someone going on here real soon doing a live. I've been on here about 57 minutes. I really appreciate all of you who dropped in here. And Laura, thank you for coming by. And Sandra. Sandra, I trust that these times have been challenging for you, that you have taken, and I'm sure you have taken refuge in Christ, and I trust that will continue to be where you look for your joy, and I know you will. And it doesn't diminish, and it doesn't, and I do not mean to demean or diminish the wounds we get from other people because they're for real. But I said I pray for you. I am praying for you, and that will continue because that's just the way it is. Your teeth are pretty crummy back about 30 years. Yep. I'm remineralizing tooth powder. There you go. Well, I know that a lot of people not advocate for using mouthwashes and stuff, but until I get my periodontal um, a condition in a really good place, because I had a pocket of decay up here, and I just have to use something to rinse for it, and it's working. Oh yeah, I understand, Sandra. What you're saying, Sandra. I'm not oblivious to that, but I'm not playing to the obvious either. It's a terrible trap to fall into, to assume. My wife and I, we just celebrated our 33rd anniversary, and one of the lessons I have to re-investigate periodically is to not take it for granted, and it being my relationship with my wife, and how uh, how important it is to continually invest and investigate that relationship. Uh, I just learned yesterday, a coworker of mine, his wife and he divorced after 32 years, right? My brother was divorced after 31 years. I have no reason to believe that we're getting divorced anytime soon. Don't want to. But I think the the work that goes into what we call a good marriage is that we don't take each other for granted, and then we should do that with all of our relationships, right? All of our relationships should be valued by ourselves enough to make the investment in people. It really aggravates me. I have always been the type of person to reach out and talk to people, to call people, to initiate conversations after decades or send cards. It's a big part of who I am. I'm, as you can tell, very social. But my own children at times are reluctant to interact with us. They do, and I know they got their lives. They're doing their things. They're doing, what they have to do. They have children and they have spouses and they have things and aspirations and disappointments. And I get it. But and I was guilty of myself. I remember being stationed overseas and I have to call a friend. Hey, look, can you do me a favor? Can you get this thing and send it to my mom because I forgot to get something 2 weeks ahead of time? Remembering how long it takes. But we shouldn't have so many friends we can't invest in the ones we have, right? Like I used to be pretty active in social media, particularly on Facebook. And because I was an elected person, I had many, many thousands of friends. Now, I would say that 90% of all the people I have in any of my social media circles are people I have interacted with. I could pick them out of a crowd, right? I've talked to them. The ones we do here, we see a lot of ourselves here in the YouTube land and Facebook and whatever, and LinkedIn or whatever else. We shouldn't have so many friends that we're not able to, commiserate and talk with one another and investigate in one another, not investigate, but to invest in one another and to learn about what is new in your life today, what's going on in your life today. So I really appreciate you all coming here and listening to me, blah blah blah, and to share and to share in what is new knowledge to me, and probably for you, Laura, and for you, Sandra, it's things you've known about and dealt with for a long period of time. But I think each one of us can find something beneficial in this interplay, so to speak. But in that, I did hit 500 people on my channel. Woo! 500 people. Um, I don't have the hours. I'm not going to have the hours this year for sure. Maybe next year. And I know I need to put out more content, and I know the content needs to be better. And I really don't want to fight the fight for the thumbnail war. I only have 1.5 thumbs. I can't do the thumb wars. Come on, man. I'm at a disadvantage, man. I'm disabled, man. I can't do thumb wars. What the heck? No. Uh, but those hollow pictures about, wow, who knew? I'm just not into that. I'm just not into it. And it takes time too. But I'll do these lives. I'll put out some content here and there, and I'll interact with everybody on the interwebs when we go to watch the different people who do different shows. Now, as a parting consideration, would you all think about that Hack Your Health Keto confab that happened this past week? What'd you all think about that? I missed it. It was in Austin. I could have driven there in a day and a half, easy. One very full day, for sure. But I didn't. And I have regret. I would have liked to have personally met Bella and Dr. Baker. Yeah. I would have liked to meet them. I would have liked to meet Hoosier, meet Brett, meet Adam, meet Carrie, you know. I hear next year is going to be in Tampa. That'll be a further drive for me. But the idea, the construct or the thought is that I'm going to try to go next year. I will. I'm probably not going to go to Keto Palooza. I didn't buy tickets, and again, it's another expensive thing. And I've only had this job now for about 2 months, and with that, I don't want to. I haven't earned any vacation, so to speak. So I don't think I want to do it. And let's see. I learned some every day. For yep, open to learning. Yeah, we do want to do that. Oh, you make a tooth powder? Yep. Oh, you're gonna do keto palooza? All right, Laura. Great. Well, make sure you do it. Make sure you take product. Make sure you take product. Now, I keep trying to offer to all these influencers, and I understand why they may not want to take it up, but when people really start thinking they want to do something to change things, and they start talking about um, lobbying elected officials, I really have some what I believe is some value added input. As a former, state senator, I was lobbied pretty regularly by a lot of different groups. And I have been lobbied by people who I was friendly to, who did such a poor job they were no longer allowed in my office, ever. And we were in agreement on policy. Publicly, we were very aligned. But because they were jerks in the way they conducted themselves, we weren't friends. And I told them no more. I'm still going to be an advocate for the process, but your inputs are no longer desired, wanted, or needed. So go away. There were other people who I did not agree with. I never had voted in a way that they were happy about, but we could have a conversation any day of the week, right? Just how life is. If you're a jerk, right? Well, my point being is I had a lot of constituents, and my constituency was the entire state because you got to kind of represent everybody. I had constituencies and constituencies who that would come to me with very unique and deeply held views, but they did it in a way that was, I don't know, it didn't alienate me. You know what I mean? You don't get a lot of you don't get many flies with vinegar. You can, but those are probably the ones that are going to die anyway. No, so I really do think I have something to offer people for a way to lobby, whether it's your federal, your state, or your local people, right? And there are some really cool things to work, and there are some things that are cool, but when they're photocopied and circulated, they lose the cool factor. They end up in a circle file. I remember getting lobbied by homeschool, the home people who wanted to homeschool, and they would come to my office, they and their children, and they would talk to me. They would help me, and they would work with me. They invested in me. I was lobbied by those who wanted to be able to publicly breastfeed and take care of the children. Totally cool with that. Understood part of the issues, but they were really, really effective in the way they lobbied, right? I was lobbied by all sorts of people, and I tell you, there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. Is there hope for Illinois? Of course there is, but the hope, I really think that what works best for all the Illinois, and I lived there in Illinois for a number of years. My wife was raised there in Champaign, Urbana, and I was down by East St. Louis at Scott Air Force Base. The idea is the how you measure, you know. So in other words, if you're going to look for will Illinois ever be conservative and all that, probably not without a major upheaval, a very painful, ugly, major upheaval. However, if you want to change something, if you can craft your target to be small enough and you can accept what you get, right? So in other words, if you go to Illinois, whatever district you're in, wherever you're at, you could do and sit down and do an analysis of Chicago. Okay. Okay. You brother went to Champaign Urbana. Yep. U of I, right? Yeah. Um, you live in Chicago, but you live in you either live in do you live in Chicago downtown the proper, or do you live in a burb? I mean, knowing what the political subdivision is and getting into that political subdivision, right? And when you get all the way down to the smallest political unit, right? My experience is political offices at the lower levels are run and are dictated by the people who show up, right? So, at grassroots level, school boards, right here, like if you go and you look at special elections, right? Like when I moved here to North Alabama, I went. Uh, you live in Chicago, not town, but not the suburbs. So, yeah, I know Chicago is so huge. So when you look at your precinct or whatever they call that small unit, you know, when I got here, there was a special election. When I showed up at my polling place, 14 people voted for this special election. 14. Now, in aggregate, it was more than that. But in my polling, so a high school football team with the number of 18-year-olds and going to be 18-year-olds that by the time of the general election could have swayed the outcome of an election, at least in my precinct and the other. And so when you get down to the really small ones, school boards, but they have even smaller than school boards, or some city ones, right? What it takes is dedicated people to show up to understand what the rules of engagement are, right? How people, like in Alabama, to be on the ballot, you don't get to just put your name in, pay your the fee, and your name shows up on the ballot. You have to go through the party, and your party has to have an election within the party, like the Republican or Democrat Party. So the candidates just can't show up. Like in Nebraska, I just went to the county office or to the state office, and I put in my name. I said my name and my address and my intention to run for the state legislature for this district. That was it. No one had the ability to say I could or couldn't. Now, when you get west of the Mississippi, you'll find more of that, right? East of the Mississippi, not so much because they've had a death grip on control. Anyhow, there are rules that we have to find out. And when you get, yeah, I know some people from Illinois, not just Chicago, all your Champaign, right? All the big cities tend to be pretty gosh darn liberal. And I have a lot of friends who are liberal, and I have a lot of friends who are Democrats. And I'm not mad at any of them. We just don't agree on policy. Idiots I don't like on any side. But the idea being is getting to know your precinct, getting to know who your party people are, and picking a topic that you can be influential on. So, the serenity prayer, right? Lord, grant me the wisdom and the knowledge to know what I can change and how to change it, and to be strong enough to change it, and the wisdom to see what I can't change and to accept it, all that type of thing, right? And when you break it all down, know how to canvass for votes. I know in Illinois you can do that. I had them tell me. People who were coaching me when I went for election, I ran against an incumbent, got some coaching, and they told a story about how they won election by 3 people, and they had gone and they had people waiting to pick them up at the airport. So they had 6 cars, 3 cars, one for each person when they showed up to get them to their precinct to vote on time, and a person to pick up their luggage and bring it back to them. They went to that detail to win the election. You have got to know the rules. But the next thing is just finding people and talking. When I ran, I had no name recognition. Now I owned an ice cream shop. I'm an outgoing fella. My little core of people knew me, but people all around didn't know me. So the one thing most people won't do when they get into politics is they won't go to each door and go knock on the door. Hey, my name is Becky Sue, and I'm running to represent you in, in the city council. I'd like to be able to talk to you for a moment. Do you have a minute to talk about about this? And now, 80% of the doors you knock on, they won't answer the first time because they're gone to whatever else. Of the 20% that answer, 80% of them don't want to talk to you. They don't. 20% of that 20%, so 1 or 2 people, they will wanna talk to you and they may not let you go. So it's just as important to know what your words are gonna be going in and then getting out. And my word, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you more, okay, there, Bobby, but Bobby, I have to go meet another 26,000 people. I can only meet about 8 of them an hour. So, tell you what, I've got your name, your number here, I got your information. Here's my number, contact me, and let's circle back and let's deal with this, okay?" And they would, "Oh, yeah, yeah, go ahead, go, 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 go." And I would go knock on door after door. Now, let's just say for me, the general election, I mean, the primary was in May. All right. So I had to, field of 5. I had to get, well, but you have to share your message. And a pastor was the one who helped me get over some of this stuff, by the way, Sandra. So, you know, I knew that in my universe, I needed to make sure I could maybe get 35, about 35,000 people were the voters from my district, 35,000, give or take, plus or minus. Not the total, but on average. So I needed to get 17,001 person to win the whole thing. But to get through the primary, it was number 1 and number 2, right? And we were nonpartisan. So I had to go and get as many votes as I could. And I learned I can only get 8 houses in an hour because you go from one house to another house, not all of them in a row. Here, here, here. People who vote on a regular basis. You get a list of them, and so about an 8 an hour. Now, if I know I need to get 17,000, and it takes let's make it 8,000, right? And you can do 8 in an hour. You need 1,000 hours of right. And if you can only do 2 or 3 hours a day, right? You see where the problem is here? I campaigned for 18 months. I knocked on some people's doors. Hey, I'm Scotty P. I'm running to represent you in legislature. That election coming up already? No, 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 not this November, but in 18 months. And they're like, "You're here a little early." Yeah, I gotta go talk to 18,000 people. I started here because it's my neighborhood. I live right up around the corner. By the time I was done, I remember knocking on one door. This is almost kind of funny. I knocked on the door. "Hey, Scotty P here," gave him the spiel. The guy's, "Okay, thanks." I said, "Oh, by the way, have you had missed my opponent?" I mentioned my opponent's number. I said, "No, he hasn't been by yet." "Well, I'm sure he will be, but just so you know," and he's the incumbent, right? He lives on the other side of the street, right over on the street right behind your house, right over there. That the house, that's his house. And he says, "That guy's never come to my house before." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." So I walked away. And as I was walking away, I noticed that there was a vehicle, an SUV, and I noticed the people in the SUV were people from India, and they had a bed and mattress on the top of their SUV. They just bought a brand new one. And they would pull in 2 houses down. They got out, and kind of like there was a fairly steep, driveway, and they got out, and they couldn't reach the top of the car to undo it. So I walked down, I put all my paraphernalia, my little walking card in my back pocket. I said, "Hey, hi, how you doing? You need a little help?" So I undid the thing, and I took it down, and me and the man, I helped him carry it in the house. I said, "Let me help you carry it in." And I carried it in. We went and got the other piece. We carried it in, and they brought in the bed frame. "Well, do you know how to put it together? Here, let me help you." I helped them put the bed frame together. I helped 'em put the bed together. I said, "Okay, great. Have a great day." I walked down outside. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, I'd like to give you this. I'm running to represent you in the legislature, and again, do you think I got their vote? 4 months later, I'm walking back by the house, the one with the guy I had just met, and I said, "Hey, how you doing, sir? Hey, last time I was here, you were digging and planting those flowers in that tree because you're getting ready for your daughter's graduation. I guess she's off to school now. How's that going? Do you think I got? You think I got his vote? Yeah." And I did that time and again. I visited everybody at least 3 times. My wife and I were so sick of walking knocking on doors, and I knocked on every door. I knocked on the R's door, the D's doors, the I's doors, the people who didn't ever vote, people who looked like they might have had a pulse. I knocked on all the doors. I dropped literature all the time. Hey, 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 18 months. See, what happens now, people just want to buy TV time, buy radio time, send out ugly mailers, and not build a relationship. And that's what's happening in Illinois, son. That's what's happening in Illinois. I'm telling you. The thing is, people want to mail it in. And you know that from just doing what we do here on YouTube. If you don't hear from somebody 4 months, you just don't go to their channel anymore. If they won't talk to you, if they don't remember what's been going on in your life. Now I get it for the really big ones, Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, those guys, maybe Homestead Howe, those people. It's hard to remember what everybody's doing. I get it, Dr. Chafee, whoever it is, I get it. But if you intentionally go to someone's door, you should have I knew of one family, they had a whippet. I'd never seen a whippet type of dog. A little tiny, like a little greyhound, right? Cool dog. I said, hey, by the way, I don't know what the whippet's name was. I'll just say Frankie. Hey, where's Frankie? How's Frankie doing? The little whippet. Oh, hey, Frankie, come in, the little dog. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? You got to build relationships. Too many people won't do that. And that's the problem. And my pastor told me, I said, I have a hard time asking people for money. Successful men don't ask other people for money. You don't. But my pastor said, I don't ask for tithes and offerings. I present something to them, and they do what they want to do. So it really helped me to understand is I would go up to people and I would say, hey, if I was having a fundraiser, I'd invite people, hey, come on to my fundraiser, bum, 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 bum. And they were buying into the idea, the ideal. When I do this StreamYard, I'm buying into it. I'm paying my $25 a month to be able to stream because I'm buying into it. I'm getting something out of it, right? So the intrusive part, it comes part and parcel. If you want to be a doctor, you're probably going to have to learn a little anatomy and physiology, a little biology. It comes with the territory, right? That's how I look at it. Same thing when I used to go to an event. Yeah, read the gospel. Some answers, some okay to talk, and most of them aren't. Therein lies the rub. I think in our political processes, I don't believe people are engaging. I believe many people are very frail. I believe a lot of people are unused to um, speaking to people and engaging with people and learning to think on their feet and listen and understand and find a new way to say the same thing, because we all generally speaking learn one way, but then again, we all have unique things that reach us, right? Sometimes it might be a cat or a dog or a child or education institution. Hey, I see that you graduated from GW. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I went there to get my degree, or I went and got a certificate. Finding ways to relate. I think that's part of one of the challenges that the social media does. If I don't want to have to grow as a person, I just don't go to your channel. I don't want to hear your slant on the news. I don't go to your website. I go right where I get what I want. And eventually I think that narrow, the persistent narrow behavior can leave one vulnerable. I don't know. Look what Laura Spath was saying today in the video. I said, some people like Michaela Peterson, her immune system and her body is so compromised, she can't get out of what she wants to do. She'd like to, but she can't. Maybe we're creating that situation ourselves. What I say for a lot of carnivores, a carnivore who goes right back to eating sugary things will be super insulin resistant because the whole pancreas is like, oh, I'm taking a nap. I'm out. I threw in the towel. I'm done. What do you mean you want more insulin? I don't need no insulin. You can't wake me up like this. Deal with it. I ain't dealing with it. And then next thing you know, you got to wake these systems up and work with them. And I think that's the same way with people. I think it's the same way with our bodies, and the same way it is in relationships. So I think just like running, you can't go out and run a marathon right away. You can't go out and bench press 400 pounds right away. We'd never do that. But we expect our bodies to respond that way with never giving them any type of wake up call or tune up or training. We need to train our bodies. We need to train our minds. We need to train our hearts. Putting up with idiots is not easy. Pretty soon I'm going to have to go, and I don't have to, but I've offered to go and listen to somebody share something that's on their heart. I've got some, I have some information about what the topic is and what might be done, and I may not agree with it, but I'm still going to go through with it because I said I would. But also, it challenges me to sit there and say, I am not so spoiled that I can't listen to someone who is different from me espouse something true to their heart. And I'm not saying it's the absolute truth. And when I listen to Dr. Chafee, and Dr. Chafee talks about when we what is it called? The English is a second language, okay? That we evolved, and how we evolved and a connotation he has. I don't agree to that. I don't espouse and share his evolution theory, but I don't throw out everything else he has to say because I don't agree on that one, right? I think a lot of us get so emotionally upset over some things that we miss the other things. So with that, I am going to bid you adieu, adieu, and adieu. I appreciate your patience and hanging out with me. If you're catching this live later on, looking at it, hey, feel free to drop a line, put a like or something like that on there, or comment on the video when it finally posts. And I'm sure we can engage in conversation at a later time. With that, I think I'm gonna let you go. Sandra, thanks so much for coming in. Laura, thank you very much for taking time out of your day. I know there are a lot of places you can be, and there are probably multiple tabs open. You can do a lot of other things, but I appreciate you taking time and spending it here as we go over so many things. But in particular, what am I going to do about this liver? Keep doing what I'm doing now. Take care now, okay? God bless. All right, peace, prayers, and blessings to each of you. I'm gonna go now. Bye bye. Oh, really? When I get to that button and I push it, it's really going to be over. All right. Bye.